Right. Primark refuses to go online despite £1 billion lockdown loss. That's an article on the BBC News on the 14th of January. Primark says it has no plans to sell its clothes online despite warning that lockdown store closures could cost it more than £1 billion in lost sales. Discuss 10 marks. What do you reckon?
Better than me.
It's not something you can succinctly address in one sentence, is it?
No, definitely not.
I guess, like, for me personally, like, Primark is fast fashion. It's like the face of fast fashion.
Mm-hmm.
You go in there, you're buying stuff for £1 or £2 or £5 at a push. That doesn't easily translate to online. That said, I think, they are missing a big trick by not going online. So although it might not be as easy and clear cut as something like Next or H&M, those guys are doing it quite successfully. So I'm sure the powers that be could think of something.
Yeah, I think that's it, isn't it? It's one thing to have a business model that doesn't go online, and it's another to lose £1 billion because you haven't attempted to create some kind of online presence. It doesn't have to be moving Primark as it is online, but surely you do something rather than just hemorrhage money for the next year.
That's my problem with it. Like, to lose £1 billion for the sake of digging your feet in the sand and doing nothing out of pure, what I can see as born idleness and laziness, if you ask me. We live in a world where there's 3.6 million stores on Shopify, and most of them will be like mom and pop stores. It's people on a weekend doing a little side hustle, making good money online by selling stuff through the post. It's easy to start an online store, as has been proven time and time again. For a company with the resources and the brand like Primark just to sit there and do nothing, personally, I think it's a disgrace. I think it's ridiculous. Like, we live in this world where there's so much opportunity and they're doing nothing. The naysayers say it's a problem with returns. And yes, Jeff, as you mentioned at the start of the call, low prices and high returns do not equal a good e-commerce store. Everyone with a bit of nous in the e-commerce world knows that. But surely there's something Primark could be doing to hedge against a £1 billion loss. Like, surely there's something.
Do you know, everybody mentions the returns and the kind of the razor thin margins, which obviously the margins will come into it, but in terms of returns and things like that, H&M I mentioned there isn't a million miles away from Primark, like cost wise.
Yeah.
Obviously it's just a little bit more expensive, but it's not like tops for £100 kind of thing. Them ASOS, who kind of led the whole charge, they've all ended up implementing some kind of like customer VIP account, whereby you can pay a set amount. So even for Primark, let's say it was £50 to skim off like the really, really low spenders. So you pay your $49.99 a year. Everything's going subscription model, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that gives you access to unlimited returns and free delivery on Primark.
Nice. Yeah.
If someone's going to buy a pair of socks every week and then send them back, it's probably not going to cut the mustard, but I think that would probably help cover a substantial amount of it.
The subscription model works, doesn't it? One of them for me would have been, we've talked about empathy on this podcast a few times. Why don't they just do something on their online store that's like a little working from home bundle or something like that, and do a few products together, whether it's a pair of joggers, a few t-shirts, maybe it's a nice smelly candle, some bits for the home office, just all in one little neat package, because that's the kind of thing a Primark customer wants. They go in there for a pair of joggers for a tenner, they end up spending £30 on tat. So that's the kind of stuff a Primark customer wants anyway. So, leveraging what's going on in the world with lockdowns, COVID, everything else, Why don't they do a bit of that and think, oh, what does a Primark customer want? Let's give them that online, and that increases your basket value, and you're not going to return all that kind of stuff, are you? Cheap pair of joggers, just throw them in the bin.
Part of the problem, potentially.
Oh, it's not very consumerism friendly, is it? But
yeah, should Primark have an online store where you're shipping plastics and manufacture and child labor and all that kind of stuff comes into it? It is the fastest of the fashion brands. Still
even if they said
£1 billion a year off it.
If they said that we don't have, actually they couldn't do it, could they? We don't have an online store because it's consumerism, and put it down that blanket.
I think that would be quite brave to say, look, you want to spend like literally 99 pence on a t-shirt. Unfortunately, we can't make that on work online. I think that would be quite a brave decision for the execs to come out and say.
I back that a lot more than what they're doing now, because if you scroll on the Twitter and their Instagram and stuff like that, it's just everyone saying, what's this I hear about you opening an online store? And it's these really boring replies of, hi, such and such, we have no plans to open an online store, but thanks for the suggestion. No personality, no branding in there, nothing to connect with the customers properly. It's just like, no, we're not doing it. And it's not that the infrastructure isn't there, by the way. If you've been on the Primark website, it's kind of set up as your ordinary online store, homepage, nice collections, decent product pages, stuff like that. But the call to action when you go to buy is just buy a gift card. So it can't be that big of a deal to get the website going, and the resource centers, and people will get backlash on. Do you not know the operations behind an e-commerce store in terms of logistics and pick packing and warehousing and delivery and cost and all that? Yes, we do, but there's no, for them to do nothing. I'm struggling with it. It's a £1 billion loss. How many companies really cope with that?
Well, that's it. How much operations, how much picking and packing facilities and staff and everything else does £1 billion get you? And if that's what it costs you to get going, you're where you would have been anyway, but at least now you can get started. So yeah, I don't really buy that. I mean, the price thing in general, while you were chatting there, I've jumped onto ASOS and I've looked at the men's t-shirts, and I've sorted by price. And the first one is £3. Admittedly, it's meant to be £6, but it's on sale. And then I've gone to it loads in 72s. So I've gone to the first end where it gives you the button to load more. And that's £4.20 is the next, that's the end of the first 72 items. If ASOS are making it work on that, because like you say, they've got their charges for everything else, basically their subscription models and having to pay for, I used to know someone that if they weren't sure about something on ASOS, they'd forego the next day delivery because you don't get your delivery back and things like that. So that's, it's an expensive thing to buy next day from them, probably because they're hedging against returns and stuff like that. I just don't believe that the obstacles are what Primark think they'd be.
Definitely not. That's the problem. That is the problem. I would have liked to have seen, say, the CEO of Primark, who I've got no idea who it is, by the way, come out with a nicely produced video and say, look, we're here. We know that you want us to come online and sell stuff. We can't for these reasons. And even if they were honest about it and said, look, our operation is on physical stores and that's how it works, and just say that would be good, rather than not address it by doing nothing. Even that would be better.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways that so many people are doing it better. I mean, in terms of getting it online, you know what it is, at one point with the really dry Twitter replies and stuff like that, I would have thought, are they maybe actually doing it in the background, but they're going to sneak it in and they're just going to drop it one day with no announcement, like a Beyonce album, and everyone will just go mad. But it's been 11 months. Well, exactly. How fantastic would it be, the amount of PR? But I'm not being funny. Obviously we're all based around Newcastle. If you look in Newcastle city centre, you've got the Granger Market. It's literally butchers and people that, do street food and stuff like that. And they've managed to get themselves online. And you can order whatever it is you want from that market, and they'll put it together. And even if you live as far out as I do, where I'm 25 miles out, there's still the one day a week where a delivery will come up my neck of the woods and I can order from them. and it is literally like a scrappy thing put together by these market traders so that they can continue to feed their kids. If it's taken Primark 11 months, right, frankly, at this point, they can go and fuck themselves. Like, they don't get my business anyway. Like, there's no excuse.
Yeah, they just ain't gonna do it. They've heads have been in the sand for too long. They're gonna look a bit silly if they kind of turn around and, you know, say, yeah, hands up, we've been wrong, we're going to try and get this going. They're going to look a bit daft now, even though, you know, the Primark customers are loyal and they'll go back to Primark again and again and again because they love buy and tat. So like they could drop the store tomorrow and they'd get traffic like immediately. And how many stores, by the way, are clamoring for that traffic and have to pay for it? Yeah. Whereas Primark could just open the website, tweet that they've opened the website, and they would get business immediately. It would be that easy.
I think we could probably spend 15, 20 minutes coming up with fantastic ideas. I just thought they're kind of like a Primark, primarkselected.com or something, where they analyze the top 20% performing in-store products and just offer those. Yeah. So it takes away the SKUs and the logistical side of it behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Do a more expensive range. You know, like
Primani.
Actually, Primani.com.
Yeah, you'd love to see that, wouldn't you? Though it's been a thing for so long. If you just do a Primani, it's the same stuff and it's a little bit nicer, maybe, and it's twice as much. It's 20 quid for a hoodie instead of a tenner.
Yeah, the one that got me is you think about, yes, their stuff is like very cheap, but they've got no in-store, well, they've got no online presence, and then there's other places such as ASOS and so on that are purely online. And it just gets me to thinking, is there not some sort of, there must be online stores right now that are clamoring for investment, that know they can make more money if they could scale, but they don't have the money that they need right now. And then you got Primark that's flushing £1 billion down the toilet over not doing anything about this. At some point, do you not put your heads together and have something where, you know, like, frankly, Primark must have the money to acquire one of these sort of smaller fast fashion brands that's got a fantastic presence online. And then you get to a stage where in the short term, Primark can sling a few of their sort of things online on a store like that and give it sort of, you know, a Primark section on whether it's boohoo.com or whoever. And you've got that side of things. And then in store, when things are finally back to normal, you can have a slightly more upmarket section of the store where you can buy that stuff in person. And at the end of the day, for those things, it saves the return rates. It stops people having to send so much stuff back in that respect because they get to try it on. Everybody would win. It will get Primark online. And even if you want to do kind of the dead cheap, like tat stuff, there's those things on Amazon where you can get like, you know, a packet of batteries for like 99 pence or whatever, but you can't buy it on its own. You've got to buy something else so they can package it together. And they've even like, you know, they've arbitraged the shipping cost that way. Something like that, where you're buying from Boohoo or H&M or whoever decides to do it, and then you bundle in like your pound Primark t-shirt in with it, but you've got to have something good in the basket as well. Like, would that really be the most impossible thing in the world to accomplish? And two companies would get to win and get to survive this.
It's unreal, isn't it? It's honestly, there's, as you say, Jeff, there's an infinite amount of things they could possibly do to make that e-commerce store work. Primark are lucky that they're in the position that they are that big. They could potentially acquire someone or do a deal with an ASOS or a Pretty Little Thing or whatever it might be. You're right. We've just seen it, haven't we? But the other way around, where Boohoo have acquired Debenhams. So why haven't we got that blend of offline and online? And, you know, ultimately given the consumers what they want, where they want it, whether that be offline or online. Primark customers are still there waiting for Primark to open again. Get your products to them. Just deliver it. What, like, just being so old-fashioned and say, no, we sell in physical stores, it really puts me off the company. I think it's, I don't like it at all. But
I bet there's a big team of marketers in-house at Primark who are banging this drum the same as us every single month and sending up the chain. I bet there will be. Like, if you worked in-house in Primark's marketing department, would you not have thought, oh, hang on, I know what's a good idea, guys. We'll do an e-commerce shop. Nobody suggested that ever. I can only assume it's some very stubborn or some very savvy, factors that we don't know about. People on the board who decide otherwise. I would only hope that, well, to be honest, I don't really mind. It's when, summer 2022. We're on COVID 24 and Primark still hasn't opened up. And then the BBC News headline is, 65 Primark stores forced to close due to administration. Imagine the stick they would take then.
And that's the way it'll go, quite frankly. Look at the state the UK is in. I think we could talk forever, but no, it is a shame. It is a shame. If it is a savvy, genuine business reason, you know what? There might. I read something about Brexit. There might be problems around Brexit, and obviously they're held in Ireland, I think. So they'd need a separate distribution warehouse for UK and Ireland. But again, I refuse to accept that these are problems that a company like Primark can't overcome. Surely it's doable. So I either want them to get off the fence and do an e-commerce store, or come out and tell us why they're not doing it, rather than say we're not doing it.
Just do something.
Just do something, Primark, please. Oh, God. At the risk of flipping me lid, we'll leave that one there, shall we?
Right, yeah.
Bad from Primark.